Guru Nation, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. You are our mobile eyes and ears. Wherever we go, that's where you are. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, share. I'm here with this familiar face, Jaime Baez. He's my nurse practitioner. We're documenting our research clinic journey. And this familiar face, she's an absolute boss in this industry. Judy Galindo, co-founder of Latinos in Clinical Research, Sun Valley Research Center. I almost said Sun Valley Clinical Research. Sun Valley Research Center. And we're here, we have a good, I was thinking, what should we talk about? And we're talking about hiring someone. You're talking about hiring someone. I had a good amount of caffeine, so neurons started firing. I'm like, why don't we just make a video on what site owners, because we all are that now, look for when hiring research naive people. Because I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I think that's the majority of sites like our size and smaller will have no choice but to get those kind of people.
Right.
So who wants to go first?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends where you're located. Like you said, in Carroll County, we have nobody with research experience. So pretty much what I look for is somebody that has some kind of medical experience, MA, phlebotomist. I've had good experience with hiring phlebotomists.
What about CNA?
I haven't hired any CNA yet. But I think I've had more candidates that are medical assistants or phlebotomists, or somebody who's had a psychology degree. I've had good research assistants who have a bachelor's in psychology, or they're going and getting their bachelor's in psychology.
Because earlier today, when we were at Starbucks, we did a video on CNA. Jaime brought it up to me about CNA, because where he works, they actually have like a teaching academy for MAs and for CNA, right?
Okay.
You want to explain how that works? And then he told me, because I was like, I'm like, oh, MA, and he's like, well, what about CNA? They get paid basically the same.
Well, if you have access to them, even better.
Yeah.
What do you think about CNA?
I was a CNA myself when I started my nursing career, so they're both great. In a nutshell, I guess, MAs are meant, the idea for MAs is more to be in a clinic, and CNAs is more to be like a hospital or nursing homes, or places that do like wound care, like home health. So it's similar, but there are differences. So many MA schools will graduate their MAs with knowing how to do EKGs and knowing how to do phlebotomy. Many CNAs, they won't. CNAs are actually, I think, called LNAs now, licensed nursing assistants, because they have to go through the whole background check and get a license, just like LPNs and RNs. But MAs, they practice under the umbrella of the physician or the provider, and that's why they don't get that. But at least from what we found out back in where we're from, in Arizona, the pay is about the same. It's about the same pay.
Yeah. Well, I guess you got to consider too what type of therapeutic area and what are you going to use them for, because now that you can do home visits, remote visits, CNAs are more comfortable with this compared to MAs.
Good point, because the study that we're about to get, the one that I said is easier, they have one visit that's hard. You need a PK draw like within a 24-hour period, like a bunch of them, and they're willing to allow us to go to the patient home to draw the blood.
Oh, there you go. CNA would be perfect.
CNA will be better.
You just help us solve the
There
problem.
you go.
Yeah.
Well, because I think you have to think about the future studies you're going to do. Might as well.
The thing with the CNA is they don't teach a phlebotomy, so we'll have to send them, or they have to come already with the phlebotomy.
Oh, they don't have that training.
Not during CNA school, but at the hospital I worked for, and where I was a CNA, we did those, but they have their in-house training for phlebotomy. So we went through that, we got a little certificate for that. So if somebody that comes in with that, it'll be great. If not, then we can always just send them. And there's a place in our area that does 2 classes a year for phlebotomy.
Yeah, he was telling me about that, so we can just send them there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think there's a school here too, but it's like so many week long program.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
sure, I think 8 weeks.
Something like that, and it's like a few times a year.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's MA, CNA, people without bachelor's degree, because part of this conversation also inspired by a comment I got yesterday where they said, I don't have a bachelor's in science, I have a bachelor in arts. Can I still be a coordinator? And I'm like, Yeah, you don't even need a bachelor's degree to be a coordinator.
No.
So the fact that you don't have a Bachelor of Science it's irrelevant.
Right.
But what have you, because I've had my sites in the bigger city, here we're both in small towns. You don't have as many candidates with bachelors. You have more like associates, medical assistants, CNA, like we've been talking about. In the bigger cities where I came from, Orange County, LA, you get plenty. Like I just put an ad on Craigslist, I got like 100 resumes, bachelor, I just graduated from school. So I would look for potential in those people as well, even though I know they don't have necessarily the clinical stuff. Just the fact that you can finish 4 years of college says something about you. So they're different, you can't compare them, but like what do you look for? Have you ever hired someone that's not?
Yeah, so I've hired someone who doesn't have a degree, and then I've hired someone who does or is working on a degree, and there is a difference. Because you went to school, you're used to doing projects, you're used to doing tests, you're used to doing case, so they have that discipline of everything they have to do for school. So when they come on board, it's easier to train because they understand things have to get done. Compared to that person who maybe just out of high school, they're looking for a job, they don't have that discipline, they don't have that experience, they don't have that exposure, and it's sometimes harder to train unless they're motivated to learn and they're that go-getter type personality.
That's where I'm trying to get at.
That's doable, but if they're not and they're expecting you to tell them what to do, that's not going to work for a research center. They have to take on that responsibility and want to learn, want to help out, want to do more and more. And if you don't have that personality from the beginning, don't waste your time. Because I've had both. And it just didn't work well.
Yeah, me too. But that doesn't mean that we haven't had MAs go-getters. Sometimes they are. We have bachelors that are not
and
go-getters.
it's the opposite, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think I have more experience the other way of hiring people without working that maybe it didn't work out great or they're not the best compared to someone who has some kind of training background in something or they're going to school. But recently I've noticed, I think those students who are psychology majors, they just graduated or going, seem to work out really good as research assistants, recruiters. They understand the protocols, they understand the criteria better, the disease, kind of even with the minimal training you give them, they kind of get it right away because they kind of already went through that psychology.
But the problem with those in the cities like this, they tend to, like, we don't have universities in our community. We have, that's something I didn't appreciate when I was in Orange County. We have community college. And so the people that graduate from university, even if they are from a small town, they tend to stay in those cities where the university is. Like at U of A in Tucson. Like I know a lot of people from Yuma went there, never moved back.
Right, and that's true, That's true, or like in Carroll County, for example, we have community college, we have a San Diego State campus in Calexico, which is growing, they keep adding programs, and so a lot of students do stay here, finish a degree, and then they leave, or they'll go to San Diego, finish their degree, and come back. But I think it also depends on the job opportunities. If there's nothing to come back to, why are they coming back?
I think that's part of the issue
that's part
with
of
smaller
the issue.
cities. There's not
There's
much.
limited jobs.
So when you interview, because we're about to start interviewing, and it's probably been, I don't know, it's been like 5-7 years since I've interviewed somebody for a coordinator. How do you assess if they're a go-getter, like
from the beginning when they reach out to me. So
does cover letter matter?
No, cover letter doesn't matter, but it depends how their email comes in. If they send me an email, attach a resume, and say like, I'm looking for a job, that's already like going to my folder. Like I'm not even gonna look at the resume because you already
because they don't even acknowledge what kind of job it is.
You didn't even say hello. This is my background. Like something. Just give me a paragraph of something.
What would be an ideal email?
Just introducing themselves, what their background is. Maybe they have no experience in this field, but they've checked out our website and they're interested in see if we're hiring. And that's the ones that I do reach out to. Like I checked your website. I don't see you're hiring, but I'm really interested. Do you have any openings? And so the fact that they took that time to go look at our website to do research about us, to find out something, even though they know nothing about us, that already was like, okay, well, you did one extra step compared to the rest of these candidates.
Yeah.
And normally, do you advertise for openings?
I've done Craigslist, but we work with the Imperial Valley College. They have a few programs where they have candidates who are always looking. They have resumes
right here,
on
we
file.
passed it.
Yeah. So there's a few departments where either they have interns or people who are looking for a job. And so every time I need someone, I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm hiring. Do you have anybody, maybe psychology or nursing? And so they'll send me resumes. There's a work program in Imperial County. I think it's called Imperial Workforce, where they have candidates that they put through basic training and they place them somewhere. So if you're hiring, they'll send you a candidate. You can try them out for 3 months. A big percentage of the salary is covered through them. You just have to submit these invoices every few weeks. And then after the 3-month period, you keep them, then you're responsible for their payroll 100%. And that's actually how I got a few of my candidates in the past year. And then, so I go through those because I feel working locally, if they have all these efforts trying to get people placed into positions.
Yeah.
And then we've tried medical assistant schools too and got a bunch of resumes. I reached out to the phlebotomy school and they sent me a bunch of resumes. So I go that route instead of advertising because I feel if all these people are looking for jobs, let me go to these places first. Because out of all those resumes, I should be able to find one or two.
That's kind of been a strategy for us too.
It's a little work.
But then if you go to them, they're not gonna send you that email, right?
No. So they already have their resumes on file. Then they forward me their resumes, and depending just on what's on their resume and their background.
But then you won't know with your test.
Well,
if they're good or
then
not.
I'll send them an email. So I'll call them, they don't respond, and then I send them an email, and then they respond. But depending how their email skills, their communication skills on the phone, and if they call back within a certain amount of time, then that makes a huge difference. But sometimes I talk to these candidates, I have no idea what they're saying. I cannot understand them, or they sound like they just woke up and it's like 3 o'clock, and they're like maybe interested in working, but not really. But they're just answering my questions. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. So I'm just like, okay, next candidate.
Send them this video before. Say, here's some prep.
Yeah.
That
So
could be
it's like that's the thing. We all have the different ways of hiring, but me, the initial impression is various ways, right?
Yeah,
Email, phone, how you respond to
That
me.
was for me too.
And that's already like, if you're already not responding to me, how is it going to be training you, right?
That was
So
for
that's
me
like
too.
kind of basic stuff. But I do notice that these community colleges don't teach you that. So that I think that's one of the skills. Yeah, they put you through this program, they create your resume, but they don't give you those life skills like, hey, when you're reaching out to a job, like don't do this or do that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are lacking those skills.
When I was working at the hospital as a nurse, I was a nurse supervisor. There was a few of us on each department, but I was part of the interviewing panel. So there'll be like 3 or 4 nursing supervisors plus our director. And we'll have a set of questions and questions just to kind of get the idea of what teamwork means for them without asking them about teamwork itself. And yeah, a lot of times we'll be like, nope, this person may have a master's, but we don't think it's the right fit for our department because of how they answer those questions. So yeah, just how to I agree
Like
with both of you.
questions,
Yeah, just like how they come across. It means
The first impression. But what about, okay, well, let's say they passed your first filter. And who knows, maybe there's some people that you dismissed that would have actually been good, but we won't know. They come in, now what do you look for? Like, what do you ask them and what do you expect to hear?
I just ask them about their background, depending where they left off. If they just graduated, they finished a degree, why they're not working. There's personal things that come up too. So I just want them to be honest with me. What are they looking for? What do they know about us? Because when I schedule an interview, I'll actually send them an email and like, check out our website, check out.
You tell them to check out our website?
Yeah, I think I sent them your link. I said, check out, find out about research, get familiar.
Oh, you said I made it. Thank you.
And then let me know what you think you can do at our office, like what are you interested in doing, and see if they come prepared. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So then I kind of, even though they have no experience, I just want to see what they're gonna say.
Yeah,
did they do research? Did they like express interest in something?
If they've done it, you can always tell. I always ask like open-ended question, like, what do you want to do in 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because then you can get a sense, like, this person just wants to come here quick and
leave. Right.
But if they say like, hey, I'm really interested about psychiatry because it was my psych clinic, like I have personal issues with it or a family or like it just somehow like some kind of connection, they know that it's more than just a paycheck. That's what I look for, and also like what they're trying to do to see if I can help them do that. because then I can get them excited. If I really want them, then I start to get them excited about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that too, because if they're like, oh, well, one day I want to be maybe a therapist, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, you're already looking at doing something, so maybe we can use you for this. So I'm like that too. I want to see like their story, where I don't care if they have some completely different background or they didn't have a degree, but what are you trying to do? Where are you at, you know? And then based on that, I'm like, well, maybe we should give you a chance. I think it'll work out. I like their personality, and then I'll hire them.
I used to get like 10 people when I would do interviews. Like I would bring 10 people in, like the best ones that I would think. So 10.
I haven't had 10 candidates at once.
Yeah, like every half an hour, I would do the whole day like that, and then I would write down, and like usually there's like 2 from those 10 that you really want, and then it's tough to pick between those 2. But those other 8 are all over the place. There's 2 that are horrible. You're like, why did you even come here? They didn't know anything about us. They didn't know anything about research.
Yeah, there's always a few.
Even though you send them stuff and they're supposed to look. I had one guy come. He said, "Hey, first minute, he's like, hey, I'm not here for a job. It's just I noticed your website needs work, so like I do that. Here's my card."
Okay.
I was like, what the hell? He like tricked his way into coming to the interview. I was like, all right, thank you. I'll keep your card, and then you get like weird ones like that. But in my experience, you get like 2, and then you're like, I don't know which one. And then what I do, I wait a few days. If somebody said thank you, then I know it's that one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But sometimes they both say it.
So then it's like 50
stuff, and sometimes neither say it, and you're like, dang, maybe I didn't pick the right 2.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
It is, but you know what I do now? Actually, I think I've done it more the past year. Since they're going to be working with my staff, I actually have my coordinator sit in and I'm like, ask them whatever you want. Imagine if this person was to work with you, would you want them working with you? What would you want to know? So they actually sit in and then they'll ask me questions, and then I'll be like, what do you think? And so they'll give me their opinion. And then the other thing we do that our PI has requested is an MMPI, a personality test. So when after they're done interviewing, they go through and answer, I think it's like 500 questions or like yes or no questions. They fill out this bubble thing. We submit it, and it, I guess, tells you about your personality, this
500
test.
questions?
I think, but it's like quick yes or no questions. So it could take like an hour and a half to complete. And then we get the assessment, and then the PI reviews it, and he'll tell us, okay, well, I think this could be a good candidate. We just have to watch out for like this area, or they might be a little slower to learn. Like he'll tell us things like that. So we're like, okay, and that's where we basically,
Well, I haven't done that. I have done that.
Yeah, you know what? They do that in a lot of other like positions.
I've heard about that. I have done the group interview thing. It's helpful, but sometimes it's like too. It like people then have a favorite. Like when I did that in the past, my most senior employee didn't want the candidate I really wanted because he felt threatened. So he's like, no. So then I'm like questioning him too, like, he doesn't want what's best for us.
Right. That's kind of makes you question.
Yeah. But this is good topics.
Yeah, I mean, I think involving, if you're so small like us, involving the staff that's been there the longest too, because if you're hiring staff that's going to work with them, then have them give you your opinion too. That always helps.
Yeah, so that's good. I guess we got to do that personality test, and good luck to all of us to hire people.
That's right.
2022.
Yes.
That's right.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Jaime. See you guys later. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and then follow both of these guys on LinkedIn. Their LinkedIn is underneath. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.